government is trampling on the Constitution and overextending its powers with Obamacare and NSA snooping. Well, the framers of the Constitution figured the country would one day find, that it woke up with an overbearing federal government. So they put in a provision, and this is the subject of Mark Levin's new #1 book called The Liberty Amendments.
They left us a legacy. They left us the Second Amendment process under the Constitution, which essentially bypasses Congress, bypasses the federal government, and gives the states the power collectively in a convention, not a constitutional convention, a convention, the Constitution says, for proposing amendments to the rest of the states.
That's very different, though.
Very different, because the Constitution is not up for grabs any more than when Congress, 2/3 of both houses, recommends amendments to the Constitution.
So the states have the power to bypass Congress and propose amendments. Constitutional attorney Michael Farris has launched a project along the same idea outlined in his booklet, The Convention of States. It's an actual plan on how to go forward with the idea. Michael joins me now. Michael, great to have you here.
Hi, Nick. Good to see you.
So Mark Levin has really ignited a fire within a lot of conservatives and libertarians across the country, the idea of a convention of the states. What is it? How does it happen?
Well, whenever 34 states make an application through their state legislatures to call a convention to propose amendments, it happens. Congress has to name the city and the time when the convention begins, but that all is ministerial in nature, and Congress cannot say no. The states have the power to say, we're going to rein in the federal government, and that's what needs to be done to stop Washington, D.C. from abusing all of us through its abuse of power.
So you've actually put together kind of a plan to take Mark's idea that he's getting so much attention for, which is just, again, exciting people, but now take it to the point of here's how we track it, here's how we do it. So talk about the plan itself. How do you make it work?
We need 3,000 legislative districts where we have people are volunteering. There are 34 states that are necessary in order to call the convention. And so we want to work in about 40 states, 42 states, and try to get this to happen right away. I spoke to the American Legislative Exchange Council last week. We're getting legislative sponsors, but what we really need is citizen volunteers. When the citizens stand up and speak up and say, we want the states to rein in Washington, D.C., it's going to happen. It's up to our state legislators, and it's up to the people. So if they join with conventionofstates.com, that's our website that we've created. We've hired staff. We've got the mechanisms in place. We've got the legal documents drafted for the state legislators. But we just need the people to tell their state legislators to call a convention of the states. That's the process.
What are some of the kind of topics that the states would be asked to put before a convention of states?
Well, anything that limits Washington, D.C.'s power would be germane. A balanced budget amendment, tax limitations, spending limitations, term limits on Congress. Mark Levin has proposed curtailing the power of the Supreme Court by giving the states a method of overriding it. All of those things, the abuse of the executive order power of the president, the abuse of regulatory power, all of that is up for grabs. Anything that Washington, D.C. does is up for grabs. The rights of the people would not be germane in the convention, nor the power of the states would be germane in the convention, because all we're doing is saying it's time to rein in Washington, D.C., just like George Mason, who was the delegate at the Constitutional Convention that insisted that this provision be put in Article 5.
We have this little clip. This is Mark Levin. He was talking to Neil Cavuto the other day about how would we deal with Obamacare in such a way.
The American people really don't know what this law is all about. I've tried to figure it out. You know, you've tried to figure it out. You work on this every day. And it's clear the president, too. And so what do? They change the law on the run, which is utterly unconstitutional.
So a convention of the states would actually be able to address Obamacare and other things that people feel are out of control.
The abuse of the General Welfare Clause and the abuse of the Commerce Clause are the two biggest problems in Washington, D.C. Obamacare came through the General Welfare Clause. The Environmental Protection Agency comes through the Commerce Clause. If we can rein in those two particular clauses, and it would be really simple to do it by simply saying, if the states can regulate it, the feds can't. If the states can spend money on it, the feds can't. That kind of rule of exclusive jurisdiction is at the centerpiece of what needs to be done in a convention of the states. And Obamacare would be gone.
We got 15 seconds. So, I mean, is this realistic? Is this something that is doable? Great idea. but can it be done?
It can be done. If we have 300,000 people that will help us, it'll get done within a year or two.
Michael, I hope people go to the website and find out all about it. Thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.